First, I have to say, I can't stand standing behind these things. I never do this because look, I'm a talking head, right? There's no body. But anyway, it is what it is, so moving on. All right, so I was asked to speak about my experience as a peer review team member quite recently, just in the last 6 months kind of thing. But looking around the room, I'm preaching to the choir. So I'm going to make my presentation fairly short and concise. Also, I realize that we're running short on time here. So I don't want to insult anybody by saying that my experience is the experience to be the gold standards. By no means. I was the newbie on the group. Actually, we had a few newbies on our group, which was really actually a very good experience. So I want to accept and I want to acknowledge that everybody's experience being a peer review team member will be their own unique experience. So just put that right out there, that everybody brings their own skills to the peer accreditation team. So my skills are my skills, your skills are your skills, and we all have skills. What I have here is sort of, well, nobody wants to do anything. Nobody has time to do extra work right now. Nobody has time for that. So part of what I have on my presentation is, well, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of it? Because that's human nature, right? We would like to think that we're all altruistic and we're all going to do things for the better of the group. And we do to some extent, but you also have to be able to get something out of it. Otherwise, it's really hard not to be resentful of the time that you spend, and you're going to spend a lot of time doing it if you're a peer review team member. So I looked at it from a couple of perspectives. I looked at it from what were the benefits from a professional perspective, so as an OT, as an educator, what were the benefits that I got there? And I'm going to talk about them one by one. So for example, looking at something like professional development. Well, this is one way that we keep ourselves up to date with our own learning. So it is a form of ongoing learning. It tests your writing skills. Writing your SSR tests your writing skills. Writing a peer review report tests your writing skills. It tests your skills at being able to critically evaluate documentation, being able to find the right documents, the right supportive information. It tests your ability to be to do critical writing. And what I mean by critical writing is to be suggestive with your writing in terms of, as a peer review team, you don't make suggestions to the program. You should do this, you should do that. That's not what it's about. But you have to be able to take a look at the information that you're presented and be able to analyze that and be able to put your words and how you saw that succinctly down onto paper. That's challenging, especially when you have 4 voices in the room. And we all know from our COPEC meetings, those 4 voices could be all 4 corners, right? So that became a bit of a challenge at sometimes. PD, I looked at it in terms of, it was more of a service learning for me. And there's lots and lots of research on the benefits of doing accreditation from a peer review team member, but most of that relates to to hospital accreditation, not institutional accreditation in terms of post-secondary. And it talked a lot about how it is your own form of service learning. We stick our students in the clinical world so that they can experience that. We stick ourselves in as a peer review team member so you can experience that, right? So it's really the same thing we're asking our students to do. In a way, it is, as we've been talking about here, oops, I've skipped over my pages. So it's a hands-on learning experience. It's a quality improvement. We've talked a lot about this morning, so I'm not going to belabor the process, but it is looking at not just the accreditation process from a different perspective, but looking at how decisions are made in a team. That was one of the biggest things that I learned from my experience, was how do we make a decision in a team? If you spend hours and hours going over one piece of one standard, you're going to go round and round and round and round in circles. And the voices in the room have to come to some kind of a consensus about whether or not this is the hill to live and die on, right? Is this really that critical? And I have a few suggestions at the end for how we can help figure out whether these pieces are critical. On the broader scale of quality improvement, it's about developing your own expertise as an evaluator. Whether you're doing a peer review team or whether you're evaluating a course or whether you're evaluating another faculty member, whatever, you learn these skills at being an expert at evaluation, period. Even broader, I do want to acknowledge the site that we went to, that my team went to say that on the broader scale, it is a privilege to be a peer review team member. It is a privilege for that institution to open their doors to you and to make themselves vulnerable. Because let's face it, when you are on the receiving end, you feel vulnerable. You have put your work, and for most of us, we identify who we are with what we do. So you have put yourself on the line. You've put your program on the line. And the peer review team member comes as a privilege. So we have to keep that. I felt that we had to really, truly respect that piece of it. New methods and innovations. I stole this PowerPoint. This is one of my favorite slides that Brenda actually shared with me many, many years ago. But it's looking at the fact that accreditation, and people have alluded to it already today, that it is different for different institutions. It's not a prescriptive process. There are certain standards that we have to meet, yes, but how you meet those standards, it varies. It varies, and what I liked about being part of a team was that I was open to ideas that were outside my comfort zone, ideas that were outside my way of thinking, and it was just getting that appreciation of diversity that I thought was really just a valuable experience in and of itself. The one about decision making in teams, well, here's the thing, Brenda talked about, in Africa how they have these terrible teams where they have, dissension amongst the ranks. What I learned about decision making in teams, and having come from a perspective of having to, we all work in teams, that's what rehab is. Having to make a decision in a short time span based on the evidence that you have is not always the easiest thing. So what I learned a lot from my team was that systematic thinking and really trying to get that discussion to be really robust and see all the different perspectives, but at the end of the day, appreciating there are various points of view, but you still have to come to a decision. You still have to put something down on paper. And you have to compromise. So not everything necessarily in the report do we all agree with, but at least we had enough of a sense that we felt comfortable signing our names to it, right? So I think that was important to understand, because when we all showed up, it was almost feeling, oh God, what have I got myself into? Like, I'm here with these people who, wow, I'm here with these people, right? I'm a fish out of water here, right? And I felt really, I don't know if I'd say insecure or incompetent or what I would say, but just this was not my comfort zone. This was not, it's like speaking to you. This is not my comfort zone. I can talk to students all day long, but talking to peers, it's outside my comfort zone. This was outside my comfort zone, and I felt like I was new. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I do the wrong thing? But that's not what it's about. And the nice part about it is that the professionals that are on the review teams are just that. They're all professionals in helping professions, and never was I made to feel like I said something stupid. Never was I made to feel like my opinion didn't count. And I thought that was really valuable as well. So the networking is a piece of it. Of course, you're networking with your colleagues on the review team. It was really a very, like I say, I was with these people. And so it was a really substantive experience. And I actually am now involved in a CAOT initiative, thanks to my connection with that CAOT rep, because I had lots of spare time when I got home. So, anyway. So I also want to talk, though, a little bit about the benefits personally. And so, as I said, it was a way to rejuvenate. It was, for me, it was a privilege, like I say, to be put into this position of, I don't want to say authority, because it's not authority, but it was to be put in this position where you are looking at somebody else and the way somebody else does things, and they're asking for your opinion. That's a privilege. And I felt it was refreshed in terms of, I did have increased confidence by the time I left. I didn't feel like I was necessarily the newbie. I didn't feel like the expert by any means. When I read my tag this morning, experienced, I'm not so sure I'd say that. But I do feel like I learned a lot, and that I refreshed my confidence. I refreshed in terms of, we refreshed with refreshments. I'll give you that one. We did. And so you do kind of rejuvenate. You renew your sort of information. I thought more critically about the standards from my own perspective. I learned more, like I say, about critically thinking. I had a real sort of desire when I got back. I said to Brenda, she probably was ready to kill me, because I got back and said, oh, we got to get working on this. She said, what the hell do you think I've been doing for the last 6 months? No, I mean, just, we really not, like, I got all sorts of, and it's not ideas that I take from the one I was on. It was just, I felt like that was exciting, and connect in a personal terms. I have to give you an example of the 6 degrees of separation. There's the connecting and there's the exchanging of experiences, there's connecting personally. And here's my example. One of our peer review team members, who I had never met, we got talking over dinner and over refreshments, and it turns out that this particular individual was born and raised 4 blocks from where I was raised, went to the same high school I went to at the same time. It was a big high school, and had the same supervisor, the same preceptor for their master's degree that I did at the same institution. And I said to her, how did we never meet? How did we never meet? So it was really quite interesting. So then we reminisced about high school, which was really kind of funny, but I'm sure the other 2 people on our team were thinking, really? But connecting in terms of the country, in terms of you have the opportunity to go anywhere in the country, more or less, because there are so many programs spread across the country. And so you can, to me, the personal part of that was, we did have a couple of drinks, nothing much, but we did go, like we all did yesterday. We went to the local and tried out the brewery, right? We did get to try some of the local kind of flair, and that was fun. And you can go to all different places and be pleasantly surprised, right? See parts of the city, the country, whatever that you haven't seen before. So I thought that was quite fascinating. I found it very inspirational. There was one member on our team who had been through a number of struggles and shared those struggles with us, personal struggles, and brought us sort of into that fold. So again, another privilege, shared with us how that experience had changed her personally. And I thought, wow, the willpower of some people and the dedication of some people is unbelievable. So I went home and thought, I got a few things I can work on, maybe more than a few. But I thought I'll choose one thing that I can work on. Went and got my Fitbit, went and downloaded an app for fitness. I thought, now part of it was this person, struggles with being in enclosed spaces. And so we didn't do elevators, we did stairs. And that was partly why the challenge for me was with the Fitbit, was by the time we got to the 4th floor, I need to do something about this. So there is an inspiration to it, just on a personal level. Now, I do want to say that there are challenges. It's not utopia. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. But I do want to say that of the challenges, the benefits I felt personally far outweighed the challenges. But I would be remiss to say that it was all, sunshine and roses. Obviously, no. There is a lot of work into it, just like there's a lot of work in the SSR. You want to take it seriously because your institution that you are looking at has put a lot, as Pat just said, a lot of time and energy into this. So we need to treat it with the same respect. I would say that the first one on there, the labor, is one that we all understand, right? Honestly, if I had to give you timelines, we were up till 1 o'clock one morning, and then we were up again and back at the institution by 8 the next morning. And that's probably not, I thought, really? But that probably is not that unusual for a peer review team. And so it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Sleep was, limited. But I think also there are ways to streamline the process, and I'm going to give you a few hints about that in just a moment. I think we can cut back a little bit on this. I don't think it has to be quite so onerous. This part, the anonymity as to, who's on your peer review team and that part, that was challenging. That was the most challenging thing for me. Because as COPEC members, I wanted to say, hi, I wanted to go and do things. I wanted to share. I wanted the information. And that's not what you're there for. And I found that part really the hardest part of it. The rehab world is small. The COPEC world is smaller yet, right? And so even bringing private institutions in, they're still in a small world for us. And so that part was challenging. That part was really challenging. I don't have a suggestion as to what we can do about it, just to acknowledge it. And I think that as the institution being reviewed, don't take it personally that we don't want to go out for drinks with you. It's just part of the process. I think everybody understands that, but it is a struggle. There is this part too, and I don't think that part really has much to say for those of us in rehab. We all do. In academia, you do a ton of stuff that you're not paid for. So I really think that the fact that it's unpaid work, you're volunteering to do this, it's not really part of the equation. I do have to say though, when it comes to unpaid, that the EAP was extremely generous in terms of they made the process very simple. It was, we've got your hotel booked, here's where you're staying, this is what time you check in, this is the room you meet at, you meet at this time, send us your receipts, and off you go, done. That part was a no-brainer, and that part, just those are kinds of things that are a little bit of a pain, really. You just want to focus on what you do, and that piece was cakewalk. So here's my lessons learned, because I'm cognizant of the time here. I really am just going to repeat a little bit of what Pat said, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but the preparation is a big thing. So I have some advice for the institution, that your SSR, just like Pat said, is arguably a challenging document to put together. The amount of information is immense. The amount of information can be hugely varied from institution to institution. So your navigation is really, really key. It has to be easy for your peer review team. We want the information, and especially as a newbie on the team, I want the information to jump at me. I want the information to be easy to find. Just point, click, there it is, right? If we have to dig for things, if we have to say, I think something related to that, but it was in a different standards, and then we have to dig back through it, not saying that was my experience, but in other things I've done, that has been my experience. That's frustrating. And now I'm up till 3 in the morning because I'm digging for documents. I'm not going to be in a great mood the next day doing my interviews, just saying. So you want to make sure that you have that really clear, and it doesn't have to be the same. You know, Pat had some great suggestions. It doesn't have to be the same way somebody else does it, but it has to work. That's all. To the EAP, I'd say continue to refine the process for, using the information that you're getting. Continue to refine the process, because it's been said many times, it's rehab, it's evolving. This process is evolving, so we need to kind of keep up with that. And to the PRT, do as much as you can before you get on that airplane. There are many, many documents on the website that help you to organize your thoughts. I was intimidated by that, to be perfectly honest. I looked at it and thought, do I have to do that one and that one and that? Well, how many of those do I need to do? You know what? Pick what works for you. And if a document on the website isn't what works for the way you organize in your brain, do what works for you. I did mine differently than my other peer review team members. We'd look across the table and say, oh, you did it that way. Right? Just do what works for you. It doesn't matter. Just get it down. And like I say, do it as much as you can ahead of time. I would not consider doing it on the airplane, really. It doesn't, I don't know. I'm always with this crying baby on the airplane, so I would not suggest you wait till the airplane. I would not suggest you wait till you get there and then think, well, I'll just review it one more time, because you will not have that chance. For organization and division of labor, there was one thing that I'll tell you that we found that was a suggestion of one of our members, who had done many, she wasn't one of our newbies, she'd done many accreditations, and her suggestion was, let's divide and conquer. I thought, what? Don't we all have to be in, and don't we all have to hear everything? No, we're all professionals, we all can do this. So what we ended up doing was we divided and conquered. So when one pair, and we try to match up our pairs appropriately, would do an interview, the other pair started entering the data from the previous interview. That saved us a lot of time. That was a great suggestion. The other, and we had it all written down, it was all documented, so that if I wasn't in an interview and I had questions about that, I could go back to that. The other thing is that we're then inputting the data when it's still fresh in your mind. You just did that interview 10 minutes ago, and now you're entering the data where it belongs. That was very, very helpful. What helped then, so what I would say to the institution is, the institution we were at had a room for us where we did all of our interviews. So that was our home base, but they had a work room for us, which is where we set up the computer and we could do some of that data entry. That really helped. If you have the room and the facility for that, that was just a saving grace. To the EAP, they booked a room for our lead that was a suite, kind of like Celia's where we were last night. They had a huge boardroom, so that we could set up the boardroom table, rather, so we could set up our computers at the table. We ordered in room service for coffee at midnight, which probably wasn't the best idea, but we had this great place that we could feel comfortable and we could leave everything spread out. That really helped as well. That was off away from the institution. And for the PRT, again, don't be afraid to divide and conquer, but do what works for you, what you're comfortable with. Commit and focus was about don't bring other work with you. You won't have a chance. We all do that, right? We all bring homework. I'll just get this little bit done. Yeah, you won't. I'll tell you that now. What I would say is do, in terms of commit and focus, like I say, you want to give the most to that institution and you want to give the most of yourself for yourself. Which brings me to the next one. Take time for you. If you like to, if you want to have, let's say jogging relaxes you, walking relaxes you, going to the gym relaxes you, swimming relaxes you, whatever it is that helps you stay healthy for you, bring that with you. Because that piece of it really helped us to get through. That having the ability to take time for yourself and nurture yourself was very valuable. And it doesn't have to be a huge commitment of time because you've got other things to do, but it is still important to look after you, right? And as rehab practitioners, we preach that all the time. We're not always good at doing that. What I would say is consider jet lag in terms of when you get there, you just forgive yourself for that piece of it. Personally, I felt heading that direction was fine. Coming home was an issue. So don't book a meeting. Lesson learned, don't book a meeting as soon as you get home, 2 hours later. That's not a good plan, right? Keep up the momentum. What I mean by keep up the momentum is don't wait too long when you get home. You only have so much of a window of time to get your report done. Get right on it, I would suggest, because you will lose your momentum because life happens. You get back into your old routine very, very quickly, and it's almost a struggle to get back into it. And then I've lost my momentum, right? And the last one I have on there is laugh lots. We laughed a lot. We probably inappropriately laughed a lot. But one of the things that we did that was, take time for yourself. One of the things that we did, and I would suggest this to everybody, and I think it's really, again, preaching to the choir because we did this last night, which is when you are done your day of work, do something for you. Go out for dinner with your PRT, have a beer, have a glass of wine, have a good meal, and talk about something other than the accreditation process. Go outside of that. And that really helped. That's how I learned that this person grew up 4 blocks from me, right? Because we started talking about, Anyway, we started talking about some really, we laughed a lot, we talked about some strange things. But it also then, you felt like you were connected to those people on a personal level, and it made those challenging conversations much easier because you had a different level of respect for that person. So I would suggest that you all do that. Now, the last thing I have is that I have an activity because I'm an OT. That's just the way we roll. And so it's not hard. Honest, I'm not going to make you use your brains because you've done that lots already today, and we're going to do it more this afternoon. So what I have there are little postcards with envelopes. So those are just for the front table there. Everybody else has them. Those are yours. So all I want you to do is on the one side of it, I want you to write just OTA and PTA EAP or accreditation, or something to remind you of what that postcard, where the heck did that come from? Then what I want you to do is flip it over. And on the back, I want you to write a message to yourself. Because here's the thing. If studies have shown that if you don't act upon something from an in-service that you've been to within 30 days, chances are you're not going to. So what I want you to do is to write on the back of that something that resonates for you about what you've heard this morning. It doesn't have to be from me. But if you're interested in travel, you're interested in quality improvement, you're interested in connecting, you're interested in wines across the country, whatever. There's going to be no judgment, because here's the thing. Write down something on the back of that resonates for you. Then what I want you to do is I want you to put it in, seal it in the envelope. This is why there's no judgment. You can write whatever you want to. You can write, I love myself. And that's fine. You can write anything you want to. What then you want to do is seal it and put it in the envelope. Then I want you to address the envelope to yourself. Because in 30 days from now, I am going to put those in the mail. and I'm going to snail mail you guys. Because nobody gets snail mail anymore. Do you know how hard? I really wanted to get postcards. You try to buy postcards other than Granville Island for $3 a piece. Anyway, so the idea is I'm going to mail them to you. And what I'm hoping it will do for some of you it will be sign me up. And you're going to go onto that EAP website and you're going to sign up to be a peer reviewer. Now, many of you are already on peer review teams. So maybe all that it will do is trigger for you, yeah, I'm going to do it again. Or maybe for some of you, it'll just be a nice message to get in the snail mail. And that's okay too, right? Just something for fun. I promise, the biggest thing I promise is that I'm not going to take your addresses and write them in a book. I'm going to take those cards and I'm going to put them in my little fancy envelope. And I'm going to put stamps on them in a month and I'm going to mail them. I will not spam you. I will not send you anything else but your little note that you wrote to yourself. I'm not going to open them. I'm not going to do anything but put stamps on them and put them in the mail. And I have to say as well, I was not asked by EAP to solicit peer reviewers. I know they have a wanted poster in our package, but honestly that was not, I just personally felt that it was a valuable experience. And even though I had, the day before I thought, I don't have time to go and do this. It was one of the best professional experiences that I've had and one of the best personal experiences that I've had. That was my experience. Now, your experience might be different, that's okay. But at least you're gonna get something in the mail. Anyway, you're welcome. You can also, if you want to have a frank conversation, because obviously, I'm quite open to speaking my mind, you're welcome to also contact me personally if you'd rather. So I will have my little fancy, I know, pink. I couldn't find one with bling on it, so it's just pink. So I will just put my little envelope at the back there, and you can just stick your cards in it. If you don't want to participate, nobody's forcing you to participate, but there's no harm.